Hello there, Mia Grady here with a look at what's making headlines in Houston, starting with friends and loved ones who are mourning the loss of a well-known Montgomery County trail rider. Authorities say 81-year-old James Blunt was found shot to death at his Conroe home this week. Now investigators are working to find out who is responsible. Matt Doherty spoke with those who knew him best.
The draft horses you see here were raised and trained by a man named Jim Blunt. They were the 81-year-old's passion until he died. His body was found here, inside his home. Investigators say he'd been shot and killed.
Not Jim. Not Jim. Jim was supposed to live to 100. He said he was.
Linda Young knew Jim Blunt for 30 years. They were deputy constables together for Montgomery County Precinct 2.
Never met a stranger. And if you ever needed anything, he was the one to call and he would help you out.
Linda and Jim were also both trail drivers, the ones holding the reins in the wagons, pulled by a team of draft horses.
You've seen a movie with an old salty cowboy sitting on a stool somewhere, and he's just got a lifetime of wisdom, behind his eyes. That would definitely be Jim Blunt.
Angie Gonzalez is the Rounders trail boss.
His passing is shocking. Something none of us expected. I kind of felt like the man was indestructible.
Investigators haven't said who they think may have killed Jim Blunt or why. Questions his friends are asking tonight.
They need to be found, because who else if they're going to do this to somebody else? That was just cold-blooded, absolutely cold-blooded.
Until that person is held responsible, they say they'll be keeping their friend's memory alive, caring for the legacy the horseman has left behind.
There's two mares, and they just this year gave birth to two brand new babies that will be our replacement team.
That was Matt Doherty reporting for us. Now to hundreds of potential identity theft victims in several counties who may have been uncovered during a traffic stop in Bel Air. Now we're hearing from the new police chief about the ongoing investigation you may need to be aware of as well. Here's Jason Miles.
Right now, Bel Air police are working to get in touch with potential victims in this case. They may stretch as far as New Braunfels. In his first interview since becoming Bel Air's top cop just 2 weeks ago,
I'm very excited to be here.
Chief Jason Hester spoke with us about a traffic stop this week that launched a much bigger identity theft investigation.
Identity theft has always been an issue. It's been on the rise as of late.
Hester says officers conducted a traffic stop along this stretch of Cedar Street after a tip from authorities in New Braunfels regarding a fraud suspect believed to be in this area. Inside the vehicle, police say they found personal identifying information like addresses, dates of birth, and social security numbers belonging to approximately 250 potential victims. The driver, identified as Wendy Myers, was arrested on numerous outstanding warrants out of Guadalupe, Harris, and Montgomery counties. So far, police have identified 128 potential victims from the evidence they uncovered.
We would like to impress upon the general public to ensure that they're monitoring their credit report and subscribe to any of those services that are offered, and pay close attention and be vigilant in identity theft that's happening.
Right now, the investigation includes figuring out how identifying information from all of these people may have been obtained, whether electronically or through mail theft.
Joel Johnson, will you please stand up?
Meanwhile, a passenger in the car with Myers, Joel Johnson, seen here in probable cause court, was arrested on unrelated warrants for burglary and assault, although Bel Air police say their investigation is far from over.
Sounds like this is not limited to Bel Air.
It is not, no.
The chief mentioned credit monitoring. That's a good way to flag any potential issues. If you suspect you have been a victim of fraud or identity theft, freeze any accounts and, of course, report it. Reporting from Bel Air, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
Now to East Downtown Houston, better known as Edo, where folks tell us they aren't sure the area is ready to host the huge FIFA Fan Fest, which kicks off in just 1 week. But city leaders say there's no need to worry. Anayeli Ruiz now with this story.
We've been showing you construction crews have taken over much of East Downtown, transforming this warehouse district into a maze of orange barrels, heavy equipment, and road closures. Residents have told us they're worried the city's running out of time to get everything looking its best before the World Cup. But Houston City Council member Joaquin Martinez insists we're on track.
The work is continuing, all hands on deck. The roads that we're working on behalf of the city or the East Downtown Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, those are all planned to be completed.
Some of the construction is tied to long-term projects like the expansion of the George R. Brown Convention Center and the closure of Polk Street, along with the textile construction for the I-45 expansion project. Martinez says the project will take a break.
That will all pause, and then, of course, heavy equipment will be moved out the way, so it will not look like a construction zone.
The World Cup host committee has been planning this for years, and crews are now focused on the final touches to ensure the city is ready to welcome visitors from around the world.
We're days away, and it just doesn't look ready.
Give us some time. It's happening, and the World Cup is going to be here. The Fan Fest is going to be here.
Anayeli Ruiz, KVUE 11 News.
Girls flag football is one of the fastest growing sports in the country, soon to be featured at the Olympics. This as more states are sanctioning the sport. Texas, however, hasn't made that move yet, but that could be changing. Zach Tawatari shows us how the Houston Texans are helping lead the push.
The ball is out, and Will Anderson has it for a touchdown!
Over the last 3 seasons, the Texans have given Houston fans some of the organization's most memorable moments and changed the franchise's trajectory.
Everything is better when you win, right? Your impact is greater.
CJ looking, throwing to the end zone. Yes! Yes!
And while fans cheered on the Texans right across the street from NRG Stadium, less fanfare but a movement gaining momentum.
You see what it does. You see how it changes lives. You see what the locker room means to these guys, and then wanting to do that for the female athletes through flag football, it just made sense to create those opportunities for the female athlete as well. And so when we first introduced it, it was 8 teams, and now we're 152 this year.
In just 3 years, the Texans' She's Next girls flag football initiative has gone from a pilot program to changing the playbook. Now, supporters are hoping that growth leads to the next step, UIL sanctioning.
We're very confident that this can be done, and we have the numbers to support it. And so we feel like this is perhaps our year.
And the numbers are hard to ignore. Flag football will make its Olympic debut in Los Angeles in 2028. And in 2025, around 40 NCAA schools had women's flag football teams. More than 20 states have girls' high school flag football, but Texas, a state synonymous with Friday Night Lights, has yet to join that list.
For Texas, we know football. We know how to do it very well. But for the UIL, they're also very good at high school sports. And so we're leaning on them, hoping that they'll recognize that flag football for girls is an opportunity that we should sanction in the state of Texas.
McNair says she's seen how flag football can be more than a game. When her 7-year-old daughter, Hunter, first stepped on a flag football field, she saw a group of boys and wasn't sure if she belonged.
She goes, Mom, I don't know if I can do this, having never played. And I said, oh, you can do this.
Today, Hunter is a star player.
I can help change other girls' lives as I'm seeing my daughter's life be changed just by this sport. That drives me.
The UIL Legislative Council is set to meet June 10th in Round Rock. If flag football is sanctioned, it could be played at schools and open up scholarship opportunities for girls.
Girls flag football gets my vote. And with that, that's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Mia Gradney.
I'm Cynthia Aguirre with your headlines from North Texas, and we start with stunning video. A suspect got out of his handcuffs, then jumped into the driver's seat of a Dallas police cruiser. Even after the officer tased him, the suspect managed to jump out of a moving car. DPD just released body cam video from last week's incident, which ended with the man hospitalized. Tiffany Liu just did an exclusive with the suspect's family, who say they haven't been allowed to see him.
Nearly a week after Stacy Huffman's arrest, his family says they're waiting for updates on his condition.
It's killing me because this is my child.
Dallas police released new details from Saturday.
The traffic stop resulted in the arrest of 37-year-old Stacy Huffman.
Squad car and body camera footage was shared in edited clips. Huffman is seen trying to escape.
What the f*** are you doing?
And as police got out to restrain him, the suspect climbs into the driver's seat. Officer Kenneth Harper jumps into the back with his taser as Huffman begins driving.
Stop the car!
Police say the car reached about 50 miles per hour when Huffman exited. It's not clear on camera how that happened. Around the same time, the officer was thrown across the back seat. This video is hard for his family to watch.
We don't know if he's breathing on his own or not, if he's responsive or not. We don't know anything.
His cousin Cecily Vega says they only know he's in the hospital on a ventilator and had surgery.
I'm worried that there'll never be that point where he is going to get better.
They haven't been able to see him, and Dallas police tells me it's because Huffman is in custody. He was initially arrested on drug, gun, and traffic-related charges. He'll now also face charges for escaping custody and taking a patrol car.
Even if it's 5 minutes to hold your hand, I'll get there to you.
Huffman's mom, Suzette, says he has 3 young children.
Your babies need you. That's my main concern.
For this family, they want to see Huffman and know if he's okay.
He doesn't deserve to be in a hospital alone with nobody by his side.
In Dallas, I'm Tiffany Liu.
It has been 1 week since a devastating apartment building explosion in Dallas, and on Wednesday, the Oak Cliff community gathered for a silent vigil to remember those who died. Loved ones and neighbors remembered Sylvia Collins, Marisol Perez, and Perez's 18-month-old son, Eric. The residents displaced by the blast were also lifted up in prayer.
Being here means, to me, honoring the people that we lost. It means honoring the people who are continuing to be affected by this tragedy.
The explosion is under investigation. Several residents have already filed lawsuits, with more planning legal action. A federal judge has cleared the way for Memphis rapper Big 30 to be released from jail while he awaits trial. Big 30, whose real name is Rodney Wright Jr., is accused in the alleged kidnapping and robbery of Atlanta rapper Gucci Mane at a Dallas music studio earlier this year. The judge rejected prosecutors' claims that Wright is a flight risk or a danger to the community. If convicted, each defendant faces up to life in prison. The Fort Worth Police Department is about to launch a drone first responder program. Piloted drones will respond to emergencies to provide additional information for crews on the ground. Other police departments in our area have similar programs. So that designer handbag you've been eyeing, it looks can be deceiving. After a massive counterfeit bust in North Texas, Natalie Haddad learned more about a tool helping to spot the fakes.
They sit high on shelves, soft leather, gold hardware, carefully stitched seams, the kind of bags people save for and dream about. Inside Keeks in Plano, Kristen and Robert Donnell say every bag has a story.
Have you seen this place?
But recently, it was another story making headlines.
Fake purses, watches, scarves, shoes.
In March, Rowlett police recovered 62,000 suspected counterfeit luxury items. One person was arrested, another remains on the loose. Had the items been real, police say it would have totaled to $101.6 million. But it wasn't real, and at Keeks, there's a machine to combat this very problem.
Brands are always updating their kind of ways that they try to fool the counterfeiters and things.
Making sure fake sales are never a problem in their store.
We start off with just images of the outside.
A small device studying the details most people would never notice.
And so we're looking at the main logo.
The grain of leather, the thread count, the way a bag is built.
The last step is just to click submit.
Photos are sent to a large database, and with the help of AI, a bag is authenticated and certified as real or caught as fake.
It's really the last safeguard.
Kristen and Robert say the problem with counterfeits isn't just about someone getting tricked.
The money from counterfeiting often goes towards organized crime and human trafficking. It's just not something you want to support.
That part is not displayed on a shelf, but it is often part of the story. One Keeks refuses to be a part of.
We can give our customers peace of mind.
Because in a world full of good imitations, they say authenticity still matters. In Plano, I'm Natalie Haddad.
North Texas is gearing up to host its first World Cup match on June 14th. And Frisco just kicked things off by setting a new Guinness World Record. They created the world's largest soccer ball number, and you can just make out the 2026 on the field at Warren Sports Complex. The Swedish men's national team chose Frisco for its official team base camp during the tournament. The Czechia men's national team will be the first to arrive in North Texas Friday as we count down to the World Cup. And we expect to see a lot of their fans here as well. Cole Sullivan shows us how 911 centers are using AI to respond when seconds matter.
When we say North Texas is prepared to welcome the world, we mean the world. And that means a babel of people, nationalities, and languages, which can get complicated when it counts most.
We process over 1 million calls per year.
Roger Mann is Chief Innovation Officer at NCT 911, which runs 40 dispatch centers similar to this one across North Texas. They're used to English and Spanish, but now teams and fans from Czechia, Japan, the Netherlands, Sweden, and more are all coming here.
If it's a language that isn't a common language here that's spoken, it can take 7 or 8 minutes to find a human interpretation service.
In an emergency, every second matters. So they've launched a new AI tool to help.
And it does a really, really good job at just identifying the language within literally sometimes just a second or two.
That means a human dispatcher can find the right interpreter faster, and the AI translates a transcription of what the caller says in the meantime.
So we try to make sure that we can just process as many calls as possible, but also provide the best service for our citizens and for the visitors.
He says this will not replace human dispatchers, and it won't be used to train other large AI models. But he says he hopes it can give insight on trends, where they may be getting a lot of calls from, and when dispatchers may need a break long after the World Cup is over. In Dallas, I'm Cole Sullivan.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
I'm Bill Taylor. We're going to start with the drought report for the state of Texas and the region in which has seen the greatest improvement from week to week, and that is South Central Texas between the state capital, San Antonio, and out to Eagle Pass. A lot less red, and that means a lot less extreme drought. Still some pretty good pockets of severe drought surrounding Austin, which still has most of Travis County in extreme drought, and areas south to about Kyle and San Marcos here, where Texas State University is located. You can also see this pocket here. This was a dramatic improvement. This was exceptional drought last week, but thanks to some very heavy rain that was in between Eagle Pass and Victoria and Corpus Christi earlier in May, pretty much the last 2 weeks of May, we're soaking wet. We've seen a dramatic improvement on the drought report there. Huge pocket remains empty, and that's about, North Texas through San Angelo into pretty much the big country of Texas, where we don't have any worries at all. You see yellow, that's just going to be drier than average, not a drought condition. So the worst drought condition in the state now is the Panhandle. Just between pretty much Lubbock and Amarillo out into Oklahoma City, a lot of exceptional drought remains. And we should be seeing some decent rainfall across the state in the next few days. We definitely have an uncapped atmosphere and plenty of reason to see some good thunder showers develop and some good rainfall deposits. Now in the Gulf, we've got an area of low pressure that's trying to get its legs under it, but it's not going to organize. We've got a lot of upper level wind shear, high wind speeds aloft. Remember, tropical systems want to build vertically, and that's going to be the problem this entire hurricane season, as a strengthening El Nino usually produces high levels of upper level wind shear, which gives these systems a lot of trouble in getting started. It's going to be a ton of moisture for northern Florida and probably over to Louisiana, but that's about as far west as it's going to go. Speaking of west, let's head in that direction and take a look at this area of low pressure. I mean, you can't miss it. Dropping south over the Baja, this is going to enhance a good southwest flow aloft, and we'll start seeing a few disturbances roll through that flow and give us several good rain chances, especially Friday into Saturday. Again, high pressure is pretty much centered over the southeast, so we're not expecting any changes with that, and the highs with it out of position, we're not worried about any of this thunderstorm activity being inhibited. A lot of times that upper level warm air, that cap, that really stops good convection and you just don't get any rainfall. That's not going to be the case until next week. It looks like as we get into mid-June, we get a high pressure ridge from west to east. All right, future radar. Let's take a look at what we expect and when you'll need the umbrella. Here's a look at Thursday evening as things quiet down. Then we start seeing things erupt quickly on the Rio Grande. This is going to be 5 a.m. Friday, pretty much between Laredo and Del Rio. Nice line of heavy rain that's going to push east but collapse quickly. As we get into Friday afternoon, looks more scattered through about half the state, especially East Texas and up into North Texas, also around San Angelo, up towards Lubbock, and then it fills in a little bit more on Friday evening. So expect a good amount of rainfall on Friday evening. I know there's still a lot of graduations going on. And then look at this is interesting. Nice little impulse near Del Rio, Texas, up towards San Angelo and Midland. That's going to be 3 a.m. Saturday. And then it's quiet for the start of Saturday before we get a little bit more action in the afternoon heating, but that's mainly along the dry line out to the west. So it really looks like Saturday more than Sunday as far as weekend rain, because it looks like things taper off nicely as we get into the second half of the weekend and next week. Rainfall amounts are going to be highest across North Texas over the next 6 to 7 days, and it tapers off as you move down the I-35 corridor. Let's take a look at the next 7 to 10 days. We're still looking like above average rainfall amounts for the Texas coast and above average for the entire state, with most of it being on the coast and most of it being Friday and Saturday. The extended forecast will show you the temperatures will stay in the 80s just about statewide. Even McAllen, that's not bad. 91 for McAllen this time of year is pretty cool, actually. And then you can see Saturday's pretty filled in with some good rain, and then Sunday tapers off. And then next week, it's going to be all about the heat and heat indices. Make sure you're getting plenty of water and start hydrating now for some serious heat that's waiting for us next week. For Texas News Now Weather, I'm Bill Taylor.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. 6 weeks after deadly gas explosions shook a northeast side neighborhood, CPS Energy is pushing back against claims made in 2 lawsuits. Sue Kalberg has followed the story from the beginning and has the latest developments.
The 2 lawsuit responses have been filed in the cases involving 5 people who were critically injured April 21st when 2 neighboring homes blew up just 2 hours apart. The suits claim CPS Energy's natural gas supply lines failed, and the utility should be held responsible for not properly maintaining their delivery network. An investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board identified issues with leaks in the high-density polyethylene gas supply lines to the area. With their responses, CPS Energy issued a general denial of all claims, writing they deny each and every, all and singular, the allegations. They claim the damages were related to independent causes, that the damages were not due to any wrongful acts or omissions, that claims for lost wages and economic damages are subject to limits, and that medical and healthcare expenses should be limited to actual amounts paid. Their response claims all or some of the injuries were caused by natural conditions or acts of God or by third parties. They argue against being subject to punitive damages because actions were not taken with a culpable state of mind. When they move forward, the cases will be heard in different courts, but no dates have been assigned yet. Downtown, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
The first case of New World screwworm in the U.S. has been confirmed just 38 miles away from San Antonio in Zavala County. The screwworm is considered to be a threat to the state's billion-dollar cattle industry. Earl Stoudemire has more on the parasite known as man-eater and the effort to stop it from spreading.
New World screwworm is a pest that sits in the wounds of warm-blooded animals and slowly eats them alive. Government officials have been warning about this parasite getting closer to the U.S.-Mexico border for a year, for us to now have our first case. This case was reported in a newborn calf in La Pryor, and that's in Zavala County, roughly 100 miles from San Antonio. U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins posted on X that our food supply is 100% safe, assuring that the screwworm is being contained. It will not hurt our food supply or consumers. Last year, state lawmakers said they were working with federal partners to stop screwworm reproduction by deploying sterile flies into the ecosystem. This work is needed to protect our $15 billion cattle industry. The USDA is encouraging everyone in the surrounding area to check their pets and livestock for draining, enlarging wounds, and signs of discomfort. You're also asked to look for screwworm larvae that could be in or near the nose or navel of animals. If you notice anything, you're asked to call your state animal health officer or a USDA area veterinarian. Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
The NBA Finals is attracting thousands of people to the Alamo City, bringing big business to the area. Reporter Zach Briggs caught up with local hotel managers and economic experts who say millions are on the line.
Spurs fanatics hoping for big wins. Meantime, businesses, especially the hotels, say they're already winning with all this traffic coming to town for the NBA Finals.
Go Spurs, go. The city's really energized.
Jennifer Armistead, general manager of the Canopy by Hilton, says usually this time of year, occupancy is sitting at around 75%. But lately, she's been seeing slam dunks for business.
In the last week, we have seen our numbers go up to 95%. We are sold out tonight, for example, so we're seeing an immediate impact from those home games.
Jeff Webster, head of the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, is witnessing the impact as well. He recalls his morning flight back home.
Guess what? There's 10 to 15, I saw on just that one flight, of New York fans coming into San Antonio for this game.
He says there was about a $12 million local economic impact when the Spurs played in the finals in 2014. This time could be even more profitable.
Estimated value could be up to $50 million economic impact here.
The Spurs sell about between 10 and 20% of tickets to non-San Antonio residents.
New York, I grew up there. People like Bob Rognon and his son Lucas, Knicks fans who flew in from California.
Went to the Alamo for the broadcast earlier, so yeah, feel really great here.
Visit San Antonio's David Gonzalez stressing this widespread spending is a big score for the city long term.
That's amazing. Anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 people coming from outside of San Antonio to our city, and they stay in their hotels, they stay at or eat at our restaurants, they go to the shows, they go to the cultural places.
I think it's exciting, especially to be on like the national stage now.
And the international stage. Chafin Mugli happy to welcome Spurs and Knicks fans to the Westin Riverwalk. He's really looking forward to what all this attention could mean for San Antonio beyond the NBA Finals.
We have summer coming up, and now people will be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go to San Antonio.
Zach Briggs,
Spurs go! Go Spurs go!
KENS 5.
As the Spurs make a run at their 6th NBA title, some dog owners are making a run to the groomer. The finals-inspired looks are scoring big with pet owners across the city. David Guerrero introduces us to one local groomer and her creative designs.
With the Spurs in the finals, a local dog groomer is giving dogs in San Antonio the perfect look to cheer on the Spurs. Meet Reina Gallet, owner of the Pollywood Pups. For nearly a decade, she's been making local pets look their best. But the Silver and Black's recent deep playoff run sparked a brand new styling inspiration.
And I was looking for some Spurs gear for my dog, and there was just nothing that fit her. So I was like, why not make my own? And I just saw how like the community was coming together, like going honking. So I was like, why not like celebrate with like our special 4-legged babies too?
What started as a personal project quickly exploded on Instagram and Facebook. Now, local clients are lining up to get their pups decked out in everything from teen colors to iconic throwback styles. But out of all of the options, there's one classic San Antonio look that continues to outshine the rest.
Fiesta, for sure. I think because it pops and it's like the OG Spurs and everyone's like really excited. It gets everyone pumped. Just seeing that, like, you know, the pet parents like reactions, and you know, they'd see them and they'd be like, oh my gosh, like she's so ready, or he's so ready for the game tonight.
While the recent playoff buzz got the wheels turning, Gallet says this won't be a one-time thing. These championship looks are officially becoming a permanent regular season tradition at Pollywood Pups, proving that in San Antonio, team spirit goes way beyond 2 feet.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. One of 3 teenagers accused in a shooting spree across the Austin area in mid-May now faces nearly 20 charges. According to court records, authorities filed 10 new charges against 17-year-old Christian Mondragon, and those charges include aggravated assault and deadly conduct. That brings the total number of charges he faces up to 19 now. A Taylor man is in jail accused of murder. Authorities arrested 30-year-old Devin Olguin in connection to the death of his cousin. 48-year-old Alfred Olguin Flores was found dead early last month. The case was initially classified as a suspicious death, but investigators later determined it was a homicide. Olguin is charged with first-degree murder. Austin ISD's police chief is recovering after a motorcycle crash in South Austin Wednesday night. Chief Wayne Sneed was part of a motorcade that was escorting Superintendent Matias Segura from his daughter's graduation event when he and another officer collided on their bikes. In a statement, an AISD spokesperson told KVUE in part, quote, Chief Sneed is an incredible leader who has dedicated most of his distinguished career to the safety of our students and schools. We are hopeful for a strong recovery. A statue of Cesar Chavez that stood on the University of Texas campus for nearly 20 years is now gone. KVUE's Jessica Cha has more.
I spoke to students and staff on campus who say that the university did not notify them about the removal of the statue honoring the late civil rights leader. But I spoke to students who had a wide range of opinions about its removal. A spokesperson with UT told KVUE that the decision to remove the statue was made by the university. Dozens of other markers honoring Cesar Chavez, including murals and mentions of the civil rights leader in school lessons, have been removed in the last few months in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott has also directed state agencies to stop observing the March holiday of Cesar Chavez Day, and the city of Austin is considering renaming the road that bears his name. So as the statue on campus comes down, UT senior Henry Scott says he's surprised the removal didn't happen sooner.
It's kind of just one of those things where it's the exact opposite of what somebody stands for. So, especially with what the statue is supposed to mean and how during orientation they were telling us how it was a whole student-led thing to have it here because there were other statues at the time that were here. It's like the exact opposite, but now it's not what people wanted it to represent.
But students like Nadia Saucedo say they feel conflicted about the removal.
I feel like as a Hispanic student, we don't really have that many leaders that really represent our community, but I'm glad that it's also being removed because, well, he just wasn't a good person, now that we know. And I just hope that we can have someone else that can represent our community here.
That UT spokesperson also told KVUE that the university doesn't typically notify the campus about facility projects, and the statue will be stored at the Briscoe Center for now. On the UT campus, Jessica Cha, KVUE News.
And while that statue is gone from UT's campus, the name Cesar Chavez remains the name of a busy street in Austin. The city is still considering renaming that street, but it may be a long and expensive process. During a presentation last week, city staff estimated it could cost up to $1.2 million to cover new signage and to carry out the plan to rename the major road. City officials plan to gather public feedback through meetings and online before they reach a decision. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is launching an investigation into Celsius Holdings. That's the parent company of Alani Nu energy drinks. The AG's office says the popular beverage contains 200 milligrams of caffeine per can, which medical professionals warn are dangerous for children and teenagers. The probe comes after a 17-year-old girl from South Texas died from an enlarged heart. Her death was allegedly linked to excessive caffeine consumption. Her family is now suing the distributor. AG Paxton is examining whether the company violated Texas consumer protection laws by marketing potentially harmful products to young people without adequate health warnings. KVUE reached out to Celsius for a comment on the AG's investigation. A spokesperson told us the company takes product safety, responsible marketing, and transparent consumer information seriously. They added that drink labels disclose the total amount of caffeine in each can and include responsible use guidance stating that it is not recommended for children. Now, the company disagrees with the allegations but plans to cooperate with the investigation. Less screen time, more recess. Lockhart ISD is rolling out a new initiative designed to give students a more balanced school experience by cutting the time spent on computers and tablets. KVUE's Brianna Perez has a closer look.
Fewer screens, more screams on Lockhart ISD playgrounds as the district looks to expand free play and scale back technology use.
Reinstill a sense of childhood for our students, to provide more opportunities for children to interact and engage with one another. We want a more healthy and balanced approach to not only to teaching and learning, but to childhood as a whole.
This week, the district launched Childhood Unlocked, a district-wide initiative to encourage healthier habits. Officials say it started with a community book study involving parents and staff around the book The Anxious Generation, which looked at student wellness and screen time. Feedback from surveys and community discussions about the book helped shape the initiative.
We, as a district, really wanted to find ways to partner with our community and our staff to give children the opportunity to unlock just to be kids.
As part of the initiative, Lockhart ISD says it will make several changes across their campuses during the next school year. That includes more play and more recess. That means students will have more chances to play outdoors during and after school. The change would increase time for recess and free play by 50% for grades pre-K to 5th and reduce screen time for elementary students by 50% and encourage hands-on learning. Other changes include training teachers to use technology purposefully and developing a systematic approach to teach tech skills like typing. Parents we spoke with say they support the idea.
We're kind of locked in, we're excited about it. Our kids are getting less and less face-to-face interaction, less and less time to meet and just gather with the kids, have unstructured playtime.
Since the pandemic, officials say laptops and tablets have become the norm in classrooms. Parents say they're welcoming a step back.
It was something that came out of necessity, and now we can dial it back. We can make those changes, and the kids want it. I mean, I've seen our kiddos just absolutely love the idea.
Officials say they'll also monitor how the changes impact students. In Lockhart, Brianna Perez, KVUE News.
A new semiconductor manufacturing facility is coming to Taylor. Governor Greg Abbott just announced the South Korean company SeoulBrain will receive an $11 million grant to build its first U.S. production plant and headquarters there. Taylor is already home to Samsung's chip manufacturing plant on FM 973. Leaders with SeoulBrain say this project represents more than $120 million in investment and will create 20 high-skilled jobs. The company will produce specialized chemicals used to clean and process computer chips, materials essential for next-generation electronics made here in Texas. The city of Hutto just unveiled 2 new pickleball courts and an 18-hole disc golf course on County Road 119. These additions come just months after 4 other pickleball courts opened at Riverwalk Park in March. People can start playing at the new facilities immediately. Enjoy. That'll do it for us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.
Here's your headlines for Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Well, the Beaumont police, they have a suspect in custody while another is on the run. This is after a shooting in the south end of the city. 1 teen was killed and 2 others were injured. Now, police arrested 18-year-old Larry Stoker on warrants for murder and aggravated assault. Investigators are still searching for a second suspect, 18-year-old Christopher Bushnell. Now, the shooting happened Wednesday afternoon. This was outside of a home in the 4200 block of Ogden Avenue. When police arrived, they found 3 teens shot and 2 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old. Beaumont police say that the victims, they were transported to a local hospital where that 17-year-old Aaron Antwine, he died from his injuries. The 2 other 15-year-old victims, they were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. A paramedic on the scene telling us that the 17-year-old had 4 gunshot wounds while each of the 15-year-olds only had 1 gunshot wound. Police say that at least one of the victims may have lived at the home, but so far no details have been released about what led up to the shooting. 12 News spoke with one neighbor who heard the gunshots while he was in his kitchen.
You can kind of mentor these kids so it can be less violence and, as the police doing their job, it's just that's going to be the key to, get everything done and solved quickly.
Now, we also spoke to Beaumont Police Sergeant Haley Morrow. She tells us that things need to change in the community.
I think it's time to have tough conversations with kids. There's almost always some kind of indicator that children are headed down the wrong path, whether it's their activity on social media, what they're doing at home, who they're hanging out with, being out late, and that unfortunately is getting a lot of our children injured or killed or put in jail.
BPD requesting anyone who saw anything or has footage that would be helpful to the investigation to come forward by calling police or reporting it to Crime Stoppers. And meanwhile, there was a separate shooting investigation in Beaumont that police have now identified the victim in Monday night's shooting at Virginia Flats Apartments as 25-year-old Nastasia Corbin. Now, Corbin was suffering from a traumatic brain injury following the shooting. Investigators say that she and another victim, they were innocent bystanders in this, and they were struck by gunfire in the apartment complex parking lot. A GoFundMe's been created to help with funeral expenses and to support her children. Friends, they're speaking out after this news. They say that she was sweet and genuine. Corbin leaving behind 3 children. Her friend Jasmine Fontenay telling us that she is heartbroken and still in shock after finding out how she passed.
Why would they do something like that to her? And I know, I can say it was an accident, but still, why were y'all shooting in an apartment complex where they have kids playing outside and they were just in the car, innocent people?
18-year-old Drevion Wilson was arrested for aggravated assault in connection to this shooting. Court documents say that he admitted to firing the shots, and a 15-year-old suspect who police can't identify because of his age was also arrested. The investigators say that it was an argument between those 2 teens that escalated, and the shots were fired. Wilson being held on an $850,000 bond. We are still working to learn the condition of the other innocent bystander in this. At last check, they were in critical condition. Well, ExxonMobil is going to pay more than $42,000 in penalties. This is after the Texas environmental regulators cited the company for air pollution at its Beaumont chemical plant. The incidents, they were in 2022 and 2023, and they released thousands of pounds of VOCs, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen oxides. More than half of the penalty that's going to fund air monitoring across Jefferson and Orange counties. ExxonMobil says that it has made repairs and upgraded procedures at the facility to help prevent future incidents. Also being fined, Chevron Phillips chemical plant. They have agreed to pay more than $23,000 in penalties. This was following an emissions incident at its Port Arthur facility. State records show that a flare released more than 60,000 pounds of pollution. That includes, once again, VOCs, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen oxides. This was during a nearly 24-hour event back in May of 2024. Now, as part of their settlement, the company is funding home weatherization and energy efficiency upgrades. That's going to be for low-income residents in Jefferson County. The TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, they approved the enforcement orders Wednesday. And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. The final stretch of Tyler's mayoral runoff is underway. Public safety, downtown development, and city growth are all on the minds of voters as they prepare to choose between 2 candidates with different visions for the city. CBS 19's Robert De La Garza has more on how both candidates are making their case to Tyler voters.
Voters are back at the polls for the mayoral runoff election with just 2 candidates. But after several elections, former councilmember John Nix and current councilmember Stuart Haney say they are facing challenges beyond securing votes.
Right now, what we're fighting is voter fatigue, right? Like if you're a citizen of Tyler, this is your 4th opportunity to vote in the election just this spring.
According to Smith County election officials, as of Wednesday, over 3,000 ballots had been cast in the runoff.
We live here with you, we work here with you, we raise our families alongside you, and the decisions that we make not only affect you as citizens, but also affect us as well.
Both candidates are offering different visions on the city's priorities, and even went back and forth on the city's revitalization project.
Those projects are great examples of opportunities that help attract new businesses to our community, help bring more employees to our community, where at the end of the day, we can increase our sales tax base to continue funding new projects and continue developing as our city.
Nix, who comes from a business and development background, says he supports the project but wants the city to keep costs down.
What we say is the money we spend on the project is money we don't make. But the reality is how much better would that project be if it looked exactly the same and cost $10 million less?
Public safety has also moved to the forefront of the campaign after a 5-year-old boy was injured at a Tyler apartment complex last weekend.
And our guys are are doing everything they're supposed to, and I think we just need to give them a few more tools in very specific direction.
Haney, who has the endorsements of the Tyler Patrolmen's Association and the Tyler Professional Firefighters Association, says he wants to continue working with law enforcement to keep the city safe.
And that's something I look forward to continuing to build upon, continuing to work with them so we can have the safest community.
With turnout continuing to be low, both campaigns know even a small number of voters could have a big impact on the outcome. For CBS 19, I'm Robert De La Garza.
This Saturday, Texans can cast a line without needing a fishing license. The annual Free Fishing Day takes place on the first Saturday of June annually. Texas Parks and Wildlife says the day is meant to encourage more people to get into the sport and families to spend time outdoors. And even better, anyone can fish at no cost. Officials hope it helps educate how fishing license dollars help fund conservation efforts, including fishing, stocking, habitat management, and maintaining healthy fisheries across the Lone Star State.
What we're trying to do is give you an opportunity to connect. And if you engage in fishing and you like it, we try to get new anglers on board and hopefully do buy a license to support conservation in our mission. We always hear about folks that, went fishing with their parents or grandparents at one point. They're bringing their kids to fish on a day like Saturday and get them introduced, and it keeps going, right? So it's a very healthy experience, and that's the best part of it.
For those looking to take advantage of the Free Fishing Day, De Jesus says that the Texas Freshwater Fishery Center in Athens will offer free admission Saturday, along with fishing equipment and special prize opportunities. Also happening Saturday, Fun Forest Pool is kicking off the summer season this weekend as city leaders in Tyler prepare for another busy year of swimming, activities, and community events. Fun Forest will officially reopen, giving East Texans a place to cool off as those temperatures continue to rise. Crews have spent weeks cleaning, repainting, and preparing the pool ahead of opening day. Prices will remain low for Tyler residents, who will pay $1 to enter, with the price for non-residents increasing from $2 to $3 this season. The city is also introducing card payments for the first time.
Not everyone has a pool in their backyard. Not everyone can afford to, get on the interstate and pay who knows what the prices are now to go to some of these water parks. And even the pools that we have in Tyler, a lot of them are private. And so the accessibility is the most important part. And so being able to provide this environment for families is important.
Lifeguards will be staffed and on duty throughout summer, with safety remaining a top priority for the city. And that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. State judges denied a request from more than 170 landowners to delay the massive transmission line project stretching across Central Texas. 6 News reporter Juliana Jackson spoke with landowners who say the biggest issue isn't just the legal battle, it's what could end up in their backyards.
The legal fight over the Big Hill transmission line continues. A state judge has denied a motion filed by John Burrow and more than 170 other landowners, seeking to delay the case over concerns about notice to property owners.
Not just in Bell County and these counties where these lines are running, but to all ratepayers in the state of Texas.
Burrow is one of hundreds of landowners preparing to testify.
And then it's going to come between our house over here and that house, so it'll be all of these structures are within 500 feet.
Eric Goldbrayson says his family only learned months ago their property was along the preferred route.
Our 4 kids here that we homeschool, my wife and the kids are here most of the day. These lines would probably be about 300 feet from our home.
But residents say it's not just homes they're worried about.
A building versus a residential building versus a church or a school. And they're all weighted as one. Florence Elementary School, it's a new school that's open now. It holds about 580, I think, children plus another 50 or 60 in staff. And Encore looks at this as one inhabitable structure.
The project would create a 765 kilovolt transmission line connecting the Big Hill substation in West Texas to the Bell County East Switch near Temple. Encore tells 6 News the project is necessary to improve grid reliability, support Texas's rapid growth, and ensure electricity can be delivered to communities across the state. But for landowners, the focus remains close to home.
have our home and our business here. If these lines come through, we don't really know what we'll do.
Juliana Jackson, 6 News.
Meantime, 3 days of testimony, 2 days of sentencing, guilty on 3 counts of sexual assault and life in prison. Our Cindy Walker gives us a recap of the trial of former Waco priest Anthony Odiong.
It's a type of case not usually brought to trial.
We worked really closely with Waco Police Department detectives. We traveled to meet with witnesses in several states.
One, the prosecution said, required years of preparation to try. Even the defense said the amount of evidence was unprecedented.
These kind of cases are very, very difficult because I see a lot of legal things that I'm like, I'm not so sure that went the way it should have gone.
It began with a national news article, which inspired a woman, Mary Doe, to report her story to Waco PD.
We had to have at least 5 or more in order to bypass the statute of limitations.
Digging led Detective Bradley DeLange to nearly 1 million of Anthony Odiong's personal emails and his victims out of state.
I had found incriminating type emails and I would just cold call and reach out.
The trial began with 3 total victims and 3 charges. When one victim didn't show up to testify, the charges dropped to 2.
She had a pretty bad emotional breakdown. We just were not willing to arrest a sexual assault victim under those circumstances.
The state called several witnesses, Mary Doe and 2 of her children, Jane Doe, and a victim from Louisiana.
His actions ranged from kissing someone during a confession all the way to a sexual relationship that lasted for years.
And a priest, an expert in canonical law.
When a Catholic priest tells a parishioner that something is acceptable, that has a meaning that it doesn't carry if another person who's not a priest says that same thing.
He explained canonical court proceedings often don't occur until after criminal court concludes. That means as of now, the Austin Diocese has ordered Odiong to no longer perform duties as a priest, but he does still hold the title. But to the jury, it was clear Odiong was a threat to the community.
Testimonies from the victims, they had a bunch of pieces that were similar to the other victims. Clearly, it made it easy for us to decide that it wasn't a lie, it was a guilt.
And that was Cindy Walker reporting. Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
I'm Mike Gillespie in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's making news in South Texas. The return of the New World screwworm to Texas is raising concerns across the agriculture industry. Natalia Osuna spoke with those on the front lines, including Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, about the response now underway.
Scott Frazier is a longtime rancher. He remembers the last time that ranchers faced the New World screwworm. As a child, he says one thing stayed with him to this day.
I was pretty small when they pretty well eradicated him the first time, but I do remember there was a very distinct odor, whatever those animals, that sort of, I guess, rotting flesh. It's pretty nasty.
Now on a rainy day, he's out checking his cattle and seeing how he can protect them.
Other than some of the really older ranchers around, most of us haven't ever seen it or dealt with it.
Last time, experts used sterile flies to progressively get rid of the pest. Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller says the impact could go beyond the livestock industry.
$30 billion+ livestock industry, but it doesn't stop there. People need to realize that most of the cases that we're finding are in dogs, they're in cats, they're in your pets. Just a simple tick bite on a dog or a cat, you can have a screwworm infestation. So you need to check your pets.
Frazier tells me that surveillance is key. So that means monitoring your cattle as much as you can. But that can also be a challenge sometimes, especially if they're in pastures farther away.
We're taking some technology that's off the shelf. They wear a collar that looks like basically an overgrown necklace for a human that has like a pendant on it. And the pendant has a battery in it. And it sends a cue, just like a virtual fence that a homeowner might use to contain their dogs.
Meanwhile, Frazier hopes he doesn't smell that unpleasant familiar stench again.
Our cattle numbers around the whole country, but Texas are low. This could drive them even lower if we have to liquidate some pastures and have some death loss and that sort of thing.
The Texas Animal Health Commission has also been working to educate ranchers. Those efforts included an outreach event here in South Texas focused on prevention and protection measures. Well, you know, for decades, the Rialto Theater was the place where families in Three Rivers gathered to watch movies and make memories. Well, now, years after the theater closed, the historic building is once again taking center stage. Bill Churchwell shows us how the past is helping to inspire the future.
If you drive through Three Rivers, chances are you'll pass the Rialto. For decades, people stopped here to watch movies. Now they're slowing down to watch something else. A massive mural honoring America's 250th birthday is taking shape above the marquee of this historic theater.
This Rialto's been something special to the town for all these years.
The city held a contest for local artists to design the mural. Out of 6 entries, one stood out above the rest.
This one was just amazing. It touched a little bit all around about Three Rivers with the animals, the water, kind of touched all aspects of the Three Rivers.
Created by Rebecca Gillette, this is what the finished piece will look like, right down to the alligator, a reflection of the city's rich history. Now artist Chance Havlick is bringing the design to life.
It's probably the biggest project I've worked on. So much more meaningful than just like a blank wall.
But for many people here, the mural isn't just about the future. It's about the building itself.
Oh, it's nice.
Step inside the Rialto, and it feels more like a time capsule than an empty theater. You can just imagine all the movies that were viewed here in this theater back in the day, right there on the silver screen. So what a better fit than to have the mural right outside these doors.
Grandmother would give us a quarter.
At just 25 cents, Bobby Pena could buy a movie ticket, a drink, a popcorn, and still have a few pennies left over.
Was it black and white? Yep. Elvis Presley. Love me tender.
Others remember school field trips and family nights.
We used to walk up here on Sundays and we would watch Spanish movies. A great memory. It was amazing, and we would come see the movie Bambi.
The theater has been closed since the pandemic, but city leaders hope this project will help write a new chapter.
The drawings, the detail is starting to come to life. It's just amazing what he's done. We're really, really excited for it.
Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
And that is a quick look at some of what's happening right here in South Texas.